thankful to all the people behind this initiative of JCI Action Framework training for the trainers, so which I have never heard of. So I really appreciate Zone Director Training and my co-author JC Rakesh for coming up with such a wonderful initiative. And I also thank our ND training JC Kamlesh Thakkar ji for an igniting speech, which is very motivational and pushes the trainers to ensure that they take forward this JCI Action Framework to the LOs in Zone 21. And of course, to the person who gave short and very crisp and very sweet speech, the Zone President of Zone 21, JC Rakesh Menon. Yeah, to all, each and everyone who is behind this session. Yes, and I appreciate the entire team for taking up JCI Action Framework before even being initiated at a national level. So appreciations to the whole team. Please let me spotlight myself, because I won't be sharing the screen. Rather, I will be. Yes, are the slides visible now?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Before going ahead with this JCI Action Framework, because as Kamlesh ji has mentioned, I'm training the trainers. So I would like to understand how many of the participants here, the trainers here, have actually attended the JCI Action Framework, Active Citizen Framework in the past. So if you have attended the Active Citizen Framework, please put a yes in chat box. I see only 2 yes. So, okay, 3. So Active Citizen Framework, the previous version of this. So I see that only few people have attended. Yeah, anyways, I will be covering what is the difference between that and this. That also I will be covering. For those who are aware of Active Citizen Framework is basically a tool developed by JCI so that the JCI members across the globe, they can actively utilize that tool to develop sustainable solutions to issues in the community. So that was the tool called Active Citizen Framework, where it basically guides the members on how to become active citizens, how to come up with sustainable solutions, how to identify issues in the community, all these things. So one beautiful thing about JCI Action Framework is it's like, we know, we get these movies, Bahubali and Bahubali 2, KGF and KGF 2. So I would say this is Active Citizen Framework version 2, or rather a version which has been inspired or envisioned because of COVID. In that way, COVID is definitely positive for us, because I'm very sure many of us have learned many new things from this scenario. And similarly, the international leadership has taken up the same thing with the Active Citizen Framework. If you take the Active Citizen Framework, it is mostly recommended to develop solutions for issues in the community. So it is majorly targeted at developing community development projects. But JCI Action Framework is not that. It is more about extending it further, not just into the community, but also into other aspects. So we will look into what are those other aspects. And regarding the session, it's going to be a crisp session, 30 to 45 minutes on the JCI Action Framework. I will be relating it to the Active Citizen Framework, and I will also be adding a few things which I have learned through my career, because being into the heading the CSR activities of an IT company, because from the corporate perspective, the corporates and even the businesses also, they look into the ROI aspect. So when it comes to social projects, we also look into SROI, social return on investment. So from that perspective, I had the opportunity to learn a little in depth about what is impact, how to measure impact, all those things. So I will be adding a little learnings from there to this, so that it can be more valuable to you. So especially when you're conducting and facilitating this training to others, especially the JCI members. So this is the JCI Action Framework. To briefly tell you what it is, and how it is a little different from active citizen framework. So I haven't prepared any special slides for this. I will be using the slides that are provided by the international team, which are available for everybody on JCI website. And they have also, along with this, provided an elaborate guide which details all the slides, and it adds additional points which can help us in making sure that the concept is understood well by the participants. So with this, let us go ahead and jump into JCI Action Framework. So as shown here, this is a tool that helps to create projects and programs while developing the leadership skills needed to navigate today's increasingly complex world and to generate positive impact. In this specific statement, it specifically mentions about projects and programs, but as you go through the session, you understand that JCI Action Framework is indeed something that can be applied for anything. But we will also understand what JCI wants us to apply to. Same is the case with active citizen framework. When active citizen framework was also there, it is not something that can be applied only for the community projects, but it can be applied for anything in your life which you want to improve. Because I also have a little background on ISO. So, like, I'm an internal certified internal auditor and also a certified auditor for the 14th ISO 14001. So I am someone who believes that systems processes are very important for an organization. And this tool is definitely the most important tool when it comes to JCI, because all the community development initiatives that are happening across the globe should be actually driven by this framework. But unfortunately, many of the activities that we come across in JCI, especially in our LOMs in JCI, in LOs in JCI India, we see that many of the programs, they don't follow this. And I really appreciate the National Governing Board that they have taken a bold decision of including, I think, 8 points out of the 100% efficiency that are linked to project that is implemented based on JCI Action Framework. So now I hope many more JCI Action Framework related projects will come in JCI India in the coming few years. So full appreciations to the NGB for that. And I would personally thank each and every one of them, because this is going to make our impact much more worthy. So as you see, it is basically a tool that helps to create projects and programs. So it is about creating good projects and programs. So we will look into it, what are the different stages involved, and each stage what we are supposed to do, and what are the different tools we have. And one more thing that I'm going to tell very clearly everywhere, not just in one stage, it applies to each and every stage. Don't assume things. This applies for many areas in our life. Whenever we are speaking to someone, we assume, we judge people. So when it comes to developing good projects, assumption is something that we should put aside. That is something that we are going to follow in all the stages. So if we assume things, we tend to be biased, and there is a good scope that we will be missing an opportunity to create a wonderful project. So that is one sincere recommendation that I have from a personal level, to not assume things when you are trying to design programs, or don't go into conclusions quickly. We will also explore that why it is important. So this is what JCI Action Framework infographic is. So you can see there are 4 steps written. On the left, you can see from bottom to top, it says analyze, develop, execute, and review. These are the 4 steps that are there. And of course, along with this, we also have another step. And so in that way, it is very similar to JCI Active Citizen Framework. So the same steps are there. It is the same process basically. But what JCI is telling is, now, instead of limiting yourself to community development projects, expand yourself to other areas. The other areas of opportunities which are mentioned here on the right: individual growth, business and entrepreneurship, community action, and international cooperation. So what JCI is asking is, don't just concentrate on community projects. You also need to concentrate on individual growth, business and entrepreneurship, community action, and also international cooperation. All these 4 areas of opportunities. So apply this JCI Action Framework for all these 4 areas, not just community development. So it definitely emphasizes on community development, but also ensure all these things are also taken care of. So when it comes to the steps, so as I mentioned, there are 4 steps here. So the first step is analyze. So if you go to analyze, so for any community project to come up, there has to be a need. So if we don't have a need, any project doesn't make sense. Suppose if you go to if you go to Punjab and if you open a barber shop, then it doesn't make sense because there is no need, because everybody here they don't need barbers there. Of course, now the situation might be different. I'm not very sure those who are from Punjab can speak on that, but definitely that's something a similar example. So if you go and implement a project somewhere where that project is not needed, what is happening is your time, your efforts, your resources, everything is getting wasted. And that is something that I see in many LOs. Many LOs, they do a lot of activities where they do activities for the sake of doing them, or they do activities because they have some resources. Let us say I have 1,000 books with me. So what I will do is I will just go and donate books. That is what we are doing. So instead of it, we are not seeing whether we are able to match the actual need of community with the resources we have. And that is where JCI Action Framework comes in. So what it tells is identify the needs of the community and ensure that whatever projects you are creating, they are catering to that needs. If it is not catering to that need, then don't go ahead with that project. So the first and foremost thing is you have to analyze the needs. So how do we analyze the needs of the community? So I would quickly request a few answers in the chat. So how do you analyze needs in a community? Of course, some things are given here on screen. So what are the different ways in which you find out what are the needs in a community? It can be a community you are working in, it can be a school, it can be a colony, or it can be a city. Please leave your answers in the chat box. How do you assess needs of a community? Talking with people, face-to-face interaction. Yes, yes. Yeah. Observation. Yes, very good. We see issues faced by them. Yes. See, and here again, what often happens is when we talk about identifying a need, we always come up with our assumption. Most of the times, I'm not saying everybody does it, but most of the times that is what happens. See, suppose if I talk about traffic, we talk about traffic from our perspective. What we know about traffic, what we know about roads, we talk from that perspective. But if you don't involve other perspectives into it, there is a good chance that you will miss out something. And that thing, what you miss out, might be one of the very important things. Yes, we also have newspapers and other publications. Yes. So here in this slide, you can see that what JCI is telling is some of the methods are listed here. So it says survey, online research, interview, demographic data, as well as photojournal. So survey is basically you send out questionnaire to people, you ask them to fill those entire survey with all the questions, and then based on that you take feedback. Like suppose in case of our LO, which is JCI Vizag, in 2016 we did a survey which was a public poll where we sent out a form to all the citizens of Vizag. Of course, we won't be able to reach all the 25 lakhs people, but within our own circles, in all the public platforms, we floated that form where we asked them for what are the top 3 issues in the city. So I think we got around 75 to 80 responses for the limited time we have floated that. And out of that, we found that drinking water was the first and foremost issue. Second is roads, and third one is traffic. So this is one way of doing it. So float a survey to all the community members. And in our example, one more example that I can cite is in our CSR activities, we as a company collaborated with a local resident welfare association and we adopted a colony. So we wanted to identify what is the demographic there, what are the people, what is the background, what do they understand about different aspects of a colony. So what we did is we had 4 or 5 page questionnaire, which we had a few volunteers who went to door, and we got data from almost 1,200 households on those 4 to 5 pages of data. So once we got that data, then we got better understanding of our audience or the beneficiaries. of what age group they are, what economical background they have, what understanding they have of the community issues, what are their priorities in communities. So that is how we went on with that in our case. So similarly, you can also go for other options like online research. Interviews is a very good and very key survey method or needs analysis method, where you interact with people already working in that community, or you interact with government officials who are working in that area, so that you get a better picture. If I give an example of bad roads, generally when it comes to us, most of us, when we think of bad roads, what we will think of? We will think of, okay, we have irregularly laid speed breakers, or we don't have signages, or we can say people are not following rules, we have traffic issues, all these things. But if you interview someone who is into the field, you might come across some new things. Suppose when it comes to roads, one thing that I got exposed because is in India, majority of the issues in case of roads is also because of road design. So there is a standard way of designing a road, and in many places our roads are properly not designed, especially the bends. If it see V bends are there, or there are hairpin bends, all these bends, there are some norms to be followed, which are not followed unfortunately by our contractors. So road design is something which I was never aware of. So once I interacted with an architect, I came to know about a new thing. So ensure that people who are experts in those fields, people who are working in those communities, people who, the government officials who are working there, or the community people themselves, if you interview those people, then you will come across a lot of perspectives and needs from their perspective also. So that is also one key important tool, interview. Similarly, demographic data. So what kind of what is the age group of the people? How many women are there? How many men are there? How many children are there? So all these kinds of data will also help you understand their needs. And also photojournaling, like you can collect different newspaper articles related to that area, and if you go through those articles, you will find out what are the issues they face. What are the, suppose if you open a newspaper, the newspaper will basically cover the issues that are happening in that community. So that way also you can understand what are the needs of that community. So that is the first step of needs analysis. So when it comes to analyze, the first step is identifying the needs of the community. So you have identified the need. Now what? Now the second step, which is given on the left, discover the cause of the problem. So we need to understand what is the root cause of the problem. So those who have attended active citizen framework and those who have attended the JCI impact, you must be aware of the but why exercise. But why exercise is nothing but we keep on asking why until we get more and more answers. So what happens is, if you keep asking why, you will go into the root cause. Eventually, you will come across a root cause of that issue. One beautiful example given in JCI Impact for this is, in JCI Impact, there is an example where a case study where they mention a community where there is a hospital of 100 beds, and almost in every year it can cater for 100 beds. Let us assume it can cater for 100 people, and every year they see that the accidents are increasing, and day by day the number of beds, they are not able to support the number of accident cases. So let us say the accident cases are around 140, 150 every year. So the hospital is not it doesn't have the infrastructure to handle so many cases. So what will be the solution for this? May I have some answers in chat box? What will be the solution for this? So I have a 100-bedded hospital, which can cater for only 100 people in, let us say, a year. I'm just assuming a few numbers, taking some random numbers. So, but I see that throughout the year, there are more than 130, 140 cases. So I'm not able to accommodate 30 to 40 more people. What is the solution for this as an organization? Steps to reduce accident, yes. Any other answers? Awareness campaigns, okay. Okay, so we got two answers. Outsource those patients to different hospital. Yes, first aid center. Okay. Yeah. So you can see that we got four answers. So out of which the first one mentioned about steps to reduce accidents. Second one is awareness campaign. So we have to take some awareness campaign so that people will be more aware of traffic rules or whatever JC Vikash ji meant. And then Rituraj says outsource those patients to a different hospital, and JC Vikash says first aid center. Now, when you actually understand, when you try to understand the root cause of an issue, here our purpose is not to serve the patients. Our purpose is to reduce the accidents, because eventually what we want in the community, we want less people in community to suffer. So it doesn't mean that we have to provide additional facilities. It is instead, if you can reduce the number of accidents that are happening, that will be a better solution, right? Because you are not wasting more resources on more accidents. Instead of it, you are reducing the number of accidents. What you have to, the first question that we need to ask is why these accidents are happening. So when you ask this question, you will come across multiple answers. Those who are driving the vehicles, they might say, okay, the roads are not good, the speed breakers are not good. If you ask a traffic constable, you might get an answer, people are not following rules properly. If you ask an architect, you will get an answer, road design is not proper. Or if you might ask someone from an academician, he might say the entire vehicle design is not suited for our roads. Depending on who you interact with, you will come across multiple answers. And it is not essential that every one of these answers is relevant. Sometimes multiple answers are also relevant. So suppose I will take one answer, or let us say people are not following traffic rules is my one of the answers that I got. So once I got this answer, I shouldn't be stopping there. I should be going to the next step, which is, what is the next step? Why are people not following rules? So then again, multiple perspective, multiple answers will come. So it is basically you are creating a pyramid. So initially, the top of the pyramid is where the accidents are happening, number of accidents. Then you came to the question, why more accidents are happening? You came multiple answers. For each answer, you again ask why. You will again come across multiple answers. So this way, if you keep on asking why for 4 or 5 times, you will trickle it down to a level where you will have many reasons why all these things are happening. So then one very good advantage we have is we will understand the holistically, we will understand the problem. Okay, you will come across so many new perspectives, so many new solutions. What we simply said right now, like what someone has mentioned, awareness campaign. So awareness campaign is something that comes very often to our mind whenever we think of any issue in community. But really is awareness. So in order to know that, you have to carry on this needs analysis efficiently. So once you identify the needs, then you take it to the next level. So once you identify the need, you understand the root cause. Again, when it comes to root cause, it is not essential that you address each and every root cause you identify. What root cause you will address, it depends on the amount of resources you have. It can be financial, it can be human resource. So everything needs either financial support or human support or emotional support. So what kind of resources you have in your hand, based on that, you will choose the root cause that you will address. So this can be different for different LOs. It can be different for different regions also. Like one country, the root cause can be quite different from the same scenario. Another city, it can be quite different. So I'm emphasizing more on specifically this step because this is very crucial if we want to come up with a sustainable, good project using the JCI Action Framework. So this is with respect to the first step. So here is one example. So throughout the JCI Action Framework, they have given example of an LO called JCI South City. This is an arbitrary name they have put up, though it matches with a LO from JCI New Zealand, I believe. But this is basically an arbitrary example, just something that is just framed out of air. It is not something that is an actual real case study. So JCI South City identified a challenge in their community. 73% of young people has lost their job since the start of COVID-19 pandemic. Now, if we read this particular statement, you see that there is a statistic mentioned. It says 73% of young people have lost their job. So these people might have either got this statistic from a government official, or they might have got it from a news article, or they might got it from scientifically published literature. So there should be some source. So they might have explored and they got this data. Through research, they discovered tourism industries accounted for 53% of local economy output in 2019. So they explored and they found out that 53% of the local economy is because of tourism. And the third step, which is after collecting data from the local government, local organization partners and members, they discovered the massive youth unemployment was caused by a decline in tourism industry due to COVID restrictions. So they understood that because of the COVID, tourism went down, and that is the reason why there is so many people have lost their jobs. So this is how they understood the needs of the community. Then the second step is developing, which is to develop, formulate sustainable solutions. So sustainable solution is not like you implement it once and then is something which if you implement it once, the root cause will not come again. Suppose you implement something today and after 2 years, the same issue comes up again, then it means your solution is not a sustainable one. So whatever project you are going to come up with, ensure that you are coming up with a sustainable solution. So how to do that? And what they are suggesting is brainstorm and design solutions. Again, we will come across a lot of assumptions. See, suppose if I say people are not following traffic rules, as someone suggested, yes, awareness campaign is a solution. But is it the only solution? There are many other solutions which we can do to address this thing. Suppose we can have some curriculum included in schooling, so that children can have it right from the early age. Or when we sit along with the team and discuss these things, you will come across multiple solutions. And one very good rule about brainstorming is no matter what is the solution suggested by someone, it should not be discarded. It should go onto the board. So whatever solution, whatever nuisance, anyone has the right to speak anything when we are brainstorming. So don't let them stop because of our assumptions. Even if we think that is a worse solution, don't discuss on that day. During brainstorming, you just write down everything. So once you write down everything, you will come across multiple solutions. And then based on whether you have those resources or not, and whether that solution is actually effective at addressing the root cause or not, you can again trickle down, filter down your solutions and come up to final 2-3 solutions which you will be taking up. And some examples that are given here is consulting stakeholders, which means you can consult people who are experts in those fields to identify whether the solutions you are coming up with will be effective or not. Or people who have already worked on such projects, you can also associate with them. Then it will become easier for you. And define your theory of change. So when it comes to theory of change, it is basically your concept of how your solution is going to change. Suppose here our ultimate aim is to reduce the number of accidents. So if you want to define your theory of change, you have to come from the reverse. So if the accidents have to reduce, what has to happen? If that has to happen, what has to happen? If you keep on questioning this, you will come across different steps. So that is basically your theory of change. So when you are implementing a project, this theory of change will be your guideline, whether your project is going in the right direction or not. So this will be the guideline based on which you will run your project. If you see that your theory of change, your project is actually diverting from your theory of change, which means your project is going in a wrong way. So ideally, your project should be in alignment with theory of change. And then create business model canvas. So there is a 9-part business model canvas model, which is very popular model where you have different aspects of a business listed. So as JCI Action Framework is suggested even for businesses, so you can also come up with that canvas. You can change that canvas based on what you got feedback from the previous step, and include that and increase your business model, improve your business model. For example, during COVID-19, their business models. So all the businesses now have shifted to online catering as well. So there are so many improvements which people have done. Right now, what we are doing is also a change in training model, because previously we used to do only physical trainings. Now trainings are happening virtually. It is a change we made in our model to adapt to the situations, because this is how the world is going towards. So similarly for community also, based on what you have identified the needs, based on that you can also change your business model. And then brainstorming sessions, as I already discussed and mentioned, find teams in your research. So when you are trying to explore, like I said, when you identify different root causes, you will come across different solutions, which sometimes those solutions you might never even think of. So you will come across some novel solutions. So conduct SWOT analysis. Everybody knows strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Even that also you can do. So that is how you come across. So for each and every solution, you can conduct a SWOT analysis to understand which is the best solution. So that is how you do the develop stage. And then the third stage, which is the execute stage. So here you take action. So you implement the project, and this is one area where the project management course by JCI is very effective in letting us understand how to build a project, how to run a project, how to implement a project. So that is just to give you one glimpse of what we can also learn from another JCI course. So similarly, when it comes to needs analysis, JCI Impact is an very useful course. Yes. So when it comes to the third step, execute, it is all about taking actions. And some of the salient points mentioned here is ensure that you have clear communication. One thing that I often see, and I agree many of you will also second me, is that in many of the teams, a lot of time is wasted because they don't have a proper communication channel. So whenever you are working in teams, whenever you are working on projects, ensure that you have a proper communication process as well as channel in place. If you don't have that, there is a good chance that you will waste a lot of time because of miscommunications. So that is really important when you are executing it. If you say, okay, go to that vendor and get this implemented, and if the person goes to some other vendor and get it done, it's gone, completely gone. So ensure that you have a proper communication in place. Gather feedback. So whenever you are doing something, and like suppose if you assign a task to something or delegate a task to someone, ensure that whether that person has already done that or not. Be flexible. So when you are working in teams, there might be situations where a person is really busy and you have assigned something important to him or her. So if he or she or he is busy, you have to assign that to somebody else. So somebody else has to be flexible enough to take the other task as well and do it. So in teams, you have to be more flexible. This is more about how you build your team, how to maintain communication within your team, track your results, which is ultimately, unfortunately, not just many NGOs that I come across, they don't do this. So they implement their activities, but very few organizations they actually track. And this is something that I learned a lot from corporate culture. In corporate, they track everything like anything. And to be more frank, in corporate, they emphasize so much on numbers that impact is somehow missed. So in case of NGO, they only look at impact, but they don't look at numbers. So if you balance both of these things properly, that will be the ultimate combination. And the last one is hold your team accountable. So everybody in the team should be accountable for what they are responsible. So if we don't have that, there is a good chance that some things will be done, some things will be not done. And if something that is crucial for the project is not done, the project will fail. So ensure that all these things are taken care of in the execute stage. So whatever solutions you have shortlisted in the previous stage, you can, there is one slide which we have missed. So one key aspect here is key performance indicators. So when you are actually developing your solutions, you also have to find out how you are going to measure them. Suppose I say I'm going to reduce traffic accidents. Every one of us know we need to have SMART goals. So similarly, when you are setting up a project, all the sub parts of the project should have their own goals. And those goals should be measurable. And those measures are nothing but the key performance indicators, which in short called KPIs. So suppose I want to reduce the number of traffic accidents. So that is not a good key performance indicator. Instead, there should be some number. Okay, I should reduce at least 50 accidents in this year. That is a key performance indicator you can have. Similarly, for every project, based on what you are doing, so let us say I'm drinking a drinking water. I'm taking up a drinking water project as a community project, and I have a key KPI that I should serve at least 10,000 people in this year. That is my key performance indicator. Or I should serve, let us say, 200 families in this community. So you should have some criteria so that you understand how far you are in your process, in the project progress. So that is what is key performance indicator. So I'm not going to explain in detail about JCI South City because that's going to take a lot more time. When it comes to execute phase, the example that they have given here is, so they have approached multiple corporate sponsorship, media attention and visibility, able to successfully anticipate their budgets and needs. So based on what they have implemented here, what they have mentioned is they have associated with different stakeholders so that they become more efficient. And the fourth step is review. This is again, just like I said, many people don't track their progress. Review is something which is often ignored. One example that I can quote here is we do a project called Special Olympics in JCI Vizag. So initially, when I was the project chairperson in 2016 for this project, where we do full day sports activities for impaired people, impaired children, basically. So physically impaired, mentally impaired, visually impaired, and hearing impaired. All the 4 categories we call participants from 3 different districts and organize full day training for full day sports activities for them. So there, one challenge that we always found is we never used to have ID cards where the photographs are there or name is there, because it is a Herculean task to do. So nobody ever thought of it. So every time when we had games, we used to have quarrels between teams, because one school, they used to come and say, okay, this person is not from this school, or this participant is of higher age, how he is playing in this specific category, he is not suitable for this category, all these things. So in 2018, when we were doing it, the next step we have done is, because we had this feedback in the previous Special Olympics, in 2018, when we did it again, there we ensured that each and every person, every participant has an ID card. It has a photograph of the participant. It has the event code. So he's not participating in any other event. He can participate in only the event codes mentioned on his ID card, and it is colored and all. We have taken a few more additional things. So this is just one example of how, if you review things, you can improvise your process. You can make your projects more efficient. If you don't review, what will happen next time? Again, the same issue will come and nothing will be resolved. You are basically not improving your efficiency if you're not reviewing. This applies not just to projects, any aspect in our life, but because here we are talking about JCI, it applies specifically to our projects, businesses, training programs, whatever. So monitor and evaluate results, monitor progress and evaluate outcomes. Some of the methods are comparing results. So what have been achieved before, what have been achieved now, based on that you can do. Identify possible improvements, like I gave the example of Special Olympics. So that is what we did when it comes to ID cards. Collect feedback from stakeholders. So when you talk to different people and understand, suppose your project is implemented, you have put up a drinking water point and people are using it. Once you go back to them, you realize that somebody says, okay, most of the houses have 20-liter cans, but what the tap facility that you have put up in that area, 20 liters can cannot go in, only 5 liters can go in. So that means it is causing a lot of inconvenience to the people. So that is a feedback you get from the community. So next time when you are implementing a project, you can ensure that you put space that is enough for even 20 liters can, so that it is easy for the community to carry more water rather than limiting it to 5 liters. So this is one example. Similarly, reflect on success. So identify where you have gone right, where you have gone wrong. Based on that, improvise your process and projects. So these are the four steps that are there in JCI Action Framework. And this is the example of South City, JCI South City. So increase of 40% of jobs. So the number of jobs increased. They have tracked 5 new businesses. They have tracked the number of businesses they were able to launch. 15 new JCI members have joined. So they have also tracked how many people have joined because of this specific project. A surplus of $3,000 for the organization can be pumped into services for members for the next year. So they have got some fund out of this project. So how they have also tracked how much they have gained, how much fund they could gather because of this project. So these are the 4 steps that are there in JCI Action Framework. But now those who are aware of JCI Active Citizen Framework, we used to have a circle and there used to be central circle. And that central circle used to be called as partnerships. And that is what is also shown here in the slide. So all the 4 stages that are discussed so far, which includes needs analysis, analyze, develop, execute, and then implement, review. So all these 4 steps, they come one after another. But partnerships is something that goes throughout this cycle. Suppose if you go to needs analysis, you can partner with an academic institution, you can partner with an NGO which is already working there, you can partner with a government institute, you can partner with media. If you go to the second step, which is developing the solutions, you can partner with firms who are good at doing those things. Suppose, for example, if you go for government projects, who do they partner with? They partner with consultants. So based on which stage you are, you can collaborate with the different bodies, and sometimes you can collaborate with the same body throughout the 4 stages. So that is the reason why partnerships is mentioned separately. It is something that happens throughout the course of these 4 steps. It is not something limited to a single step. So in different stages, you can collaborate with different organizations, different stakeholders. And here you can see that 3 things that are mentioned here: with businesses, corporate sponsorship to the projects, with government grants and awards, with civil society partners. Only 3 are mentioned here, but you can think of n number of things. You can collaborate with colleges, schools, medias. You can collaborate with NGOs. You can collaborate with the residents' welfare associations. You can collaborate with government officials. So depending on your project, when you are brainstorming, you can also do a brainstorming on who all are different people who you can collaborate with. And one very good thing about collaboration is if you collaborate with appropriate organizations, you will save a lot of time, you will save a lot of resources. For example, in the previous step where it was mentioned, 79% of the people, they lost their jobs because of COVID-19, or in 2020, 79% of the young people lost their jobs. There are different ways of getting that statistic. One way is I can go to door-to-door survey again, do the survey entire community, and I come across and find out that, okay, 79% of the people have lost the jobs. Now, instead of doing all these efforts, if I find an organization which has already done that survey, and they readily have that statistic which says 79%, then think of the amount of efforts you are saving. So when you collaborate with someone, if you strategically identify someone who is very good at it, it will be a win-win situation for both of them. But a personal recommendation that I have here is, no matter how many collaborations you have, ensure all the collaborators are given their credibility. You should be credible to all of them. You should also ensure they are also mentioned where needed, which is again something that I see lacking in some of the organizations, where they collaborate with an organization to implement a project. They boast about that project, but they never mention the other organization. There is nothing wrong in mentioning other organization. One of the plan of actions that we have, one of the key part, impact, invest, collaborate, in that we also have collaborate, right? So collaborate is something that we should be proud of. So when you collaborate with something, ensure that you are also putting it in public rather than hiding it. So this is what JCI Action Framework is, the entire concept of all the 4 steps, and the 5th step, of course, partnerships, which goes throughout the project. So what JCI wants is to implement these in all the 4 areas of opportunities. And this is also relevant to JCI Rise. I don't know how many of you are aware of JCI Rise. JCI Rise is again another wonderful initiative of JCI. So the RISE acronym stands for Rebuild, Invest, Sustain, and Evolve. So this is again one beautiful thing about JCI is whatever it creates, whatever tools it creates, it can be applied to anything. So if you seriously think of RISE, you can also apply it to any part, your own professional life, your own personal life, businesses, community projects. So this is what JCI Action Framework is briefly about. We are not going in depth because of the time constraint, but definitely each of these steps can be further dealt with in detail. If you see the JCI Impact course, which is 3 hours long, I always refer to that as an extension of ACF. So like I mentioned about SROI, which is impact measurement of impact. How can we measure impact of a project? That training itself is 2 days training. So it is like an ocean, but I think I have delivered what is more important from this concept. I am open to take any questions if you have. Any questions? You can put it in the chat, or maybe you can unmute and ask.
Chairman, with your permission, can I just moderate? Yes. Ravi, thank you very much for the session. And we could see that many participants were very actively participating. Now it's time for Q&A. In the സംശയം ഉണ്ടെങ്കിലും നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ചോദിക്കാം. You can unmute. ഞാൻ unmute ചെയ്യാനുള്ള provision തരാം. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ you can post your messages in the chat box. I think there is no question. Yes. Can you please share the PPT link?
Sure. PPT link, Rakesh, I will do one thing. I will share the PPT with you. It's not actually even PPT. Even JCI at international level, they have put the PDF of it actually, not the PPT. So what I have shared now is a PDF. I will share that link with you. But it is available not on jci.cc, but there is a new portal, jvc.jci.cc, which also has a library, and that is where it is available. Yeah, anyways, I will share the link with Rakesh so that he can later on share it in the groups.
Sure, we'll do that. I have the PPT again, so I'll also share.
Sure.
So Anupam, if you are in some JCI group, you will get that, or else you can leave your email ID or your phone number here so that we can share it. Okay, noted. Any other questions? It's all great feedback for your session, Ravi. I believe there is no further questions here, and we can move forward to the closing formality.
Sure. And I also shared the presentation here in the chat, so those who are interested can download. Thank you. And will you hand it over to the host? Or?
Yeah, Chairman, over to you.
Over to you.
Thank you, JFM. Yes, Ravi Kanth Reddy sir, for your great experiential learning. Wonderful session. Thank you so much once again. Now, vote of thanks. Zone ZFC Chairman, JC Dandra sir, please. Zone Director Training.
Yes.
Our leader, Raghul sir, please.
Thank you. I believe our ZFC is in the middle of something. Thank you, Chairman, once again. So let me first of all thank the Chairman of the event, JC Raheem, for very energetically coordinating the event and wholeheartedly thank the trainer of the day and the person who made this possible by giving the correct instruction and giving a correct authentic training on JCI Action Framework. When I was thinking about a trainer who can guide our trainers and the people of JCI India Zone 21 and other zones to take a training on Action Framework, the first name which came into my mind was our Ravi. And as we all know, Ravi is a person who's been working on JCI resources and who has developed many resources website and all. I believe, I will be sharing the website links and all in our zone groups soon, so that we can get information about Ravi and what he does for JCI. Thank you, Ravi, for your time, and thank you very much for the insightful session that you have shared with our members and our trainers here. Thank you very much. And thanking our zone president, JCI PPP Rakesh Menon, for being here, for your presence, and thanking each and everybody who participated this event, including the members from Zone 9 and Zone 4. Thank you very much, and over to Chairman.
JCI India Zone 21 JCI Action Framework AF training workshop for trainers for hereby adjourned. Good night. Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ravi. Yeah, thank you, Ravi.
Guys, I just there was one question by Anupam Bhai, which mentioned how to make this very interesting to members. What I would personally recommend is, if at all you are taking the JCI Action Framework, instead of doing it for an hour or half an hour, make it 3 hours. Include some aspects from impact as well. Make it more practical. Let them come up with issues in their community. Let them trickle down and identify solutions. Ask them to do the but why exercise. Then it will become more impactful, and they will also understand the importance of it. Because it was more of a trainer's orientation, I didn't go into all those details. Yeah, that is how I think we can make it more interesting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the meeting is hereby adjourned and dispersed. Thank you, Ravi. I'll get in touch with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.